Should I take over?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Professor Dhakal, and good afternoon, my dear colleagues and student participants. I find there is an echo, but I'm sorry we'll have to manage with it because from the hills and the plains, the wind travels faster. So I will begin, and before I begin, I want to screen share so that I can show you a few slides that I have prepared. But also before that, I would request my student participants to go for a small interaction, because when I go to a particular class or if I went to your college to give you this seminar, I would be seeing all of you in front. But now I cannot see you, and that is very painful for a teacher that I cannot see my students.
Dr.
Therefore,
Banerjee,
yes, please.
Dr.
হ্যাঁ
Manoj,
বলো
বলছি যে তোমার ইন্ট্রোডাকশনটা একবার জাস্ট করে নিই, তারপর তুমি শুরু করো,
Oh,
ঠিক আছে?
আচ্ছা,
তুমি
so
জাস্ট
I
একটা
asked,
জ্ঞান
so
দিও।
I asked. Okay, yes, I'll keep quiet.
Today, we have Dr. Sharmishta Banerjee as our distinguished speaker. She is a professor of business management at the University of Calcutta. Her teaching and research areas include management, human resource management, organization behavior, and entrepreneurship. The focus of her current research is small business and social entrepreneurship. Besides Indian public and privately sponsored research, she has received several US fellowships and US India and UK India collaborative interdisciplinary research projects. Her publications spread across core management, multidisciplinary areas in national and international spaces. In the last 15 years, she has been visiting faculty in Bangladesh, South Korea, and Japan. She has, for short-term research interactions, traveled to England, Sweden, Germany, Switzerland, Turkey, China, Malaysia, Myanmar, Indonesia, and Mexico. Dr. Banerjee is a lifelong supporter of the Girl Scouts and follows Lord Baden-Powell's credo, be prepared. Her husband is faculty of mathematics and their passion is travel. Now I welcome our distinguished speaker, Dr. Sharmishta Banerjee, to give her expert opinion on the topic social capital in times of corona. Over to you, Dr. Sharmishta Banerjee.
Good afternoon, my dear students. And as I had already said, that it is really very painful for a teacher not to be able to see the students and the participants in a seminar. So I have tried to do something different to get interacting with you. So as I go to presenting, I have a small question answer for you. Like I will place one question, and because we will use technology, I will get answers to all 60 of you. I think there are more than 50 students. There are 62 participants in all, and I will get responses from all of you in 1 minute. So give me a moment to screen share, please. Can you all see the slide, please? I have a question for the audience, and the question is to be answered through the chat box. Therefore, I will get answers to all 50 of you in 1 minute. My question is, in one word, how would you describe yourself? I repeat, in one word, how would you describe yourself? I will begin my answer so you can follow that. How would you describe yourself? You can all see the chat box so that learner, very good. You're a learner, Kalpana, dedicated, very good. Amazing, Vishaka, amazing. You are amazing. All others, I request you so that I know how many of you are participating. Madhushri Dasgupta, powerful, wonderful, emotional. Oh, yes. To learn new things, mystery. You like mystery, Ashish Gupta? See, it is very sad that I cannot see your faces, but at least you know how I know how you feel about yourself. Cool but responsible, Jennifer. Very good. Oh, yes, someone else is hardworking like I am. Seeker, successful, peaceful. Very true. We really need peace in present times. Responsible and honest. We have to be responsible and honest. Cool. Oh, that is difficult. Cool. Loves to explore life. Okay. So continue as you please, and I will go over to my presentation. What I want to tell you about is if you have a question, if you want to tell me to stop and explain one slide again, please tell me in the chat box. If you have a question, you don't have to keep it for later. You send it to me in the chat box. Will one or two of you answer me? I can fit everywhere. There is one word for it, adaptable. Yogendra Prasad, adaptable. Loves to explore life, gentle, very good. Will one of you answer to me that you can see the slide clearly? Dolma, what can you not understand? I asked a question. Ex- write about yourself in one word. Can you see the slide clearly? Please tell me any one person. Okay, yes, Ashish Gupta, thank you. So I will begin. Now, this is not a subject which is in your syllabus. So please relax, sit down, and let us discuss what we are facing in current times and what are the good things that are happening about us. Because as everyone says, be positive. What does you mean by be positive? Be human. We know Salman Khan said be human. But what is be positive? We have to be positive with all not audible enough. We have to be all positive, and to help that, to help being positive, I am suggesting to you an idea that goes by the name of social capital. And when we talk about social capital, I also want to share with you why it is so important in today's times, in times of COVID. Because I call the COVID a psychosocial tsunami. The corona pandemic is the psychosocial Tsunami. We have heard of tsunami. This has happened in the Indian Ocean. I have got some pictures for you when the water becomes a big wall and it moves like a big wall. It has damaged different parts of Japan, Indonesia, and the southern parts of India in 2004. Therefore, corona pandemic is a tsunami which has not only affected the geography but also the psychosocial fabric of human mind all over the world. So, given that situation, I would also like to bring to your mind this is not an exception. So don't feel why did it happen to me? Why is it that I pandemic has happened? It has not happened to you alone. It has not happened to me alone. It has happened to all the world over. And there have been instances when this has happened in the past, not coronavirus, but other disasters. Some major disasters we know about are the cyclones and the floods and the earthquake. We know about the plague in Surat, as well as the Nipah virus outbreak in Kerala. But they were not as ferocious, as all encompassing as the COVID 19. But how do people respond to emergencies? There are certain ways people respond. Like you and I did not get any chance to prepare. We were not told in December that there will be lockdown from March. So we did not get time to prepare. We were told one day before. So we were shocked. We were stocking up on food and batteries and candles and water because we were shocked. And now, when this all gets over, there will be so much shock that we will need to overcome this shock by a particular function. We have to do a particular function, that is being resilient. Being resilient means that you have to overcome the problem that you have faced. And how can you overcome the problem that you have faced? That is by being in close connection with people around you. So, one of the most important ways in which you can overcome challenges is to make sure that you are closely knit with your society. And that is what we mean by social network. I will give you two examples, one from Japan and the other from India. My first example is from Japan. In Japan, like in India, we call districts district of Darjeeling, district of Jalpaiguri, district of Malda. Similarly, in Japan, the districts are called prefectures. The prefectures of Japan, which were on the coast, were badly hit by the tsunami. But it was found by a researcher called Aldrich that tsunami deaths were much higher in one prefecture and lower in another prefecture. The two prefectures were side by side on the coast, but one prefecture had more deaths than the other. What was the reason? It was observed that the communities which had strong ties and which shared life-saving information with one another had lower amount of deaths, whereas communities which were which were away from each other and did not care about the next family, they were more vulnerable because they lacked the trust and the cohesion amongst themselves. So this experience of 2011 showed that when there is a storm, we find that people who are closely knit together are people who are closely knit together try to save each other, and as a result, a lot of lives are saved. I will tell you another story from Andhra Pradesh. In Andhra Pradesh, I'm sorry, in Tamil Nadu. In Tamil Nadu, again, this was in 2004 where there was tsunami. And after the tsunami was over, there was distribution of ration and there was a distribution of food facilities before for people to enable people to get over the problem. Thus, we found that the research has found that the blocks, the districts in Tamil Nadu, where there was more community feeling before the disaster, it was felt that there was a village leader who was being able to communicate with all the people. They were more successful in implementing the recovery program, say distribution of ration, distribution of those cloth-like things or shelters, distribution of water, all that was done much better in those blocks where the leader had more connection with the community. So both these stories tell us only when people have close connections with each other, only when they have a leader who can keep them together, it is possible for them to overcome crisis. That is what we mean by being resilient. When we talk of being resilient, I will share with you this diagram. We always talk of capital. You think capital means only money, but it means more than that. So we call this the difference between tangible and intangible capital. Most of you are business students and you know the difference between tangible and intangible capital. So there can be physical capital or financial capital. There can be, amongst the intangible, there can be social capital, knowledge capital, and spiritual capital. We always know that intangible capital comes in the form of money, factory, building, equipments. Those are tangible capital. But when you need that factory to work, when you need the equipment to work, you must have the knowledge to operate that machine, and that is intangible capital. When you have the knowledge to operate the machine and you are living in a community, you need to have people who will help you work, will work with you, will have good relations with you, and that is called social capital. And finally, spiritual capital is the feeling that there is life beyond social and knowledge capital, that there is some spirit which is acting as our guiding force. So these are the examples of intangible capital. And if I may just brush up what I've said so far, that it is the relationship among people that enable the people to overcome challenges like COVID-19. So when something like the coronavirus has struck, it is important for us to have our community support, and this community support is called social capital. My request to students is, if you have a question or if you have a comment, please put it in the chat box whenever you feel like. I have read comments like I can't hear. I think it is a problem with 2 or 3 people because the others have not reported that problem. So if you do not post your questions or if you do not post a comment, I presume it's all fine with you. And can I go ahead, please? So we have spoken about something called social capital, which stays with people. So I will therefore take you to another idea which talks about social capital and in more detail. So, what is social capital? Social capital is a way of binding the experience, abilities, knowledge, and skills of many. So, if you are the graduate student in this picture and you have your abilities which you have got from home and school, you have knowledge which you are learning in college, you have skills which you have practiced and mastered, you have experience. So, all this is your human capital. When the human capital of many people collaborate, that is where you get social capital, because together all of you can use all your knowledge, all your experience, all your abilities, all your skills to become resilient in handling a crisis like coronavirus. Therefore, I will go ahead with explaining how this idea of social capital came about. This idea of social capital came about in 1916 and it was studied by a gentleman called Hannifin. And this study was seen that when schools are functioning and the people in the community are closely connected to the schools, it was found that there was a lot of closeness, bonding, cohesiveness, and this made them one social unit, which in today's words we call the neighborhood, the community, and in Hindi what we call the mohalla. So you find there is a mohalla in which there are people who know each other, who know each other's weaknesses and strengths, and there are certain norms and networks that people in one neighborhood follow. There are certain norms that they do, there are networks that they follow, and this enables them to work together to fight such an issue like a COVID. But what does social capital actually do? I am saying you be resilient. I am saying you have to fight COVID. But what does social capital actually do? Now, my question to all of you, based on this diagram, if you are in the human capital diagram, how many of you think you have social capital? And how many of you think you do not have social capital? So the answer can come in yes and no. Please give your answers in the chat box. I have Vishaka. Good. Please give your answers in the chat box. Do you have social capital? Are you able to combine with a lot of people? Are you able to combine your knowledge, skill, ability, and experience? And is that helping you to fight the COVID? A lot of people have said yes, and I'm happy because which means you are listening. It means you have not gone to sleep. And that is why I wanted you to write the answer. Next, as I proceed, is what is your social capital doing in these times of COVID? What is social capital doing? When you get some information and um, I am Kalimpong College, do I have to do anything about it? There is to join the meeting, click this link. Am I seen and heard by everybody?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
Yes,
it's
you're
not for
audible and
me.
visible. No problem.
Thank you. So it's not for me, it's for others. Right. So social capital, how is social capital helping us in uh, times of COVID? How is social capital helping you and me? It is giving us network. It is giving us information. It is giving us information in two ways: formal network, informal network. It is giving us information through social media. And all this is because we have our social capital. All our Facebook friends are part of our social capital. There are formal networks like there are associations, But there are informal networks also. I'm sure you have friends who hang around in a common place in the chalk or in the mall or in the garden or in the park. There is no membership. Anyone who goes there can stand and chat, and you exchange information. And that is one of the most important advantages of having social capital, enabling you to overcome a crisis like COVID. So, this increases your social bonding. How? Because when you are sharing information, you trust that person. When you are disclosing information, you have confidence in that person. And when the trust is not broken, it gives rise to a lot of social bonding. And when there is this social bonding, we become responsible to each other. And when we are responsible to each other, we are doing something every day, each one of us, we are wearing a mask. We are wearing a mask not only to protect ourselves, but also to protect other people. Therefore, that enables you to have more civic responsibility. And this you are doing because you have your social capital, because you like those people whom you are mixing with. And when this is happening, it enables you to overcome the challenges of keeping one person isolated. It brings about solidarity. And when this solidarity has come about, you are able to support governmental initiatives. So when that, I'm giving you the example of COVID because this is the theme of today's discussion. That when there is social capital, when you have the news that the antibody testing is taking place there, you tell your friends, oh, वहाँ testing हो रहा है, चलो करते हैं. When you get reports that someone is doing fine, you say, spread the word. Oh, he's doing fine. He's come back home. He's become COVID free. He's become COVID negative. So all this is helping you to share information, and all this is helping you to overcome the challenges that would have otherwise kept you behind. Therefore, social capital is one of our weapons of development. They are one of the instruments that both you and I have without making any investment. So this is what I want to point out, that this is a capital for which you and I do not have to pay. So with this, I go over to the different forms of social capital. How does social capital work? Social capital works in three ways: in through the network, through trusting and for giving trust and getting back trust. What we mean is reciprocal trust. Sharing norms and values, meaning when there is a, if it's a particular club and we share the norm that we will come to this club or this place where we are meeting about 5 o'clock. So when we go there at 5 o'clock, all of us are either talking about football or films or festivals or fun or flowers or food, but we usually go there in the evening. So there are some other values, there are some other norms that which are shared, but they are not written down rules. It is not like your college timetable that class starts at 10:30. That is not a shared norm. That is a regulation. That is a rule. What happens in social capital is we are friends and neighbors who are part of a network. We trust each other and we have become part of this network voluntarily. I will explain to you the difference between a voluntary engagement and involuntary engagement. When you are part of a network in your neighborhood, that is involuntary engagement. But when you specifically enroll in a gym, say you have become members of a gym, and all those who go to the gym have become part of a formal network. And this formal network, they are going to the gym every day and they are making it a habit of going at the same time because you have become a social bonding where you are exchanging information and you are bringing together your own skills, knowledge, experience, and abilities to improve others. Now, how many of you go to a gym? All right, before Corona. So answered yes or no. If you go to the gym, write yes. I'm talking before Corona. How many of you went to the gym in February? Oh, many of you did not. Okay, so gym is not the right example. Give me an example where you go besides college because college is a voluntary, regulated place of study. So give me another example through the chat box where you have other voluntary engagements besides the college. Give me an example in the chat box. Besides the college, where do you go where you have people you know who form your social network, whom you trust, you go about the same time? The youth in this or tuition classes. Oh, really? Very good. So, games. Oh, I thought gym and games. Church. Very good examples. Wonderful. So, those of you who go to church, you are part of Chaurasta. I said that. What is Bal Vikash? That's also a tuition. Okay, so you go to the park and you go at the same time. You go to the church on Sunday mornings. You go to tuition at times that your tuition teacher has told you. But before or after tuition, you hang around at a particular place. You hang around with friends who are voluntarily engaged in this capital. Therefore, these are the different exchanges of the. Oh, thank you so much. I've got many answers. So that question doesn't hold good anymore. So I'll ask you more questions. So, social capital, therefore, as I said, brings about trust and reciprocity within social networks, and they follow some norms and values. But how is this different from financial capital? This is an important understanding. When you have, when your father has a lot of financial capital, then what happens when he keeps it in the bank? You can use it later, but when social capital is relationships, if you do not use it, it will become less. And the more you use it, it will become more. So it is necessary to see that, like financial capital, social capital also helps us to do things. It stays with us, it helps us buy other things. Buy meaning not buy, but procure other things. But when you talk about social capital being different from other things, social capital is intangible, whereas financial capital is tangible. Social capital will deplete if not used. If you don't use it, if you do not say hi to your friend when you cross that person, then he or she will fall out of your social capital network. You cannot own it yourself. It has to be with many people. The money that you have is your own, but the social capital that you have has to be related with other people. And this ownership of your social capital, you cannot transfer it to another. Yes, I am very good friends with some of you who we sit in the cafe together and we discuss so much of things, and we usually go to the cafes in the evenings on Saturday. So those are our norms. But suddenly, one fine morning, I decide I am not going to be part of this network. Instead of me, my cousin is going to be part of this network. No, that doesn't work. Social capital is created over time and it is built for the purpose of having a cohesive relationship. And this is what is helping us tide over the challenges in the due course. Now, when we talk about social capital, I wish to bring for you two types of social capital. One is bonding, and the other is bridging. Bonding happens when there are small internal groups which are common with common people, like my family, my close friends, my neighbors who go to the same tuition classes, that they enjoy a bonding social capital. The other type of social capital is which is called bridging social capital. And those are ties between your professor, Professor Dashgupta, and me. We are workmates, we are colleagues from two different colleges. We went to the same university with the same class, but we are looking for outward cooperation. When I need something in Kalimpong, I will call Professor Dasgupta. When he needs a speaker from Calcutta, he has called me. So that is bridging social capital. And bonding social capital is the bond that the students have in your college, the students that you have in your neighborhood, in your tuition classes. Now, but here I will talk to you that bonding and bridging social capital both enable us to overcome crisis. Bonding social capital is within your neighbors. So if there is water scarcity, you will tell your friends and neighbors. When there is water scarcity, your Professor Dasgupta will not tell me, "Arey pani mil raha hai, tumhare yahan pani hai." He will not tell me. But what is bridging social capital? That is when any of you need some paperwork to be done in Calcutta, and you tell me, you send me a WhatsApp, "Madam, I need that form. Will you please send it to me? Will you please pick it up and send it to me?" So, which means this doesn't happen every day, but it happens when you are looking for cooperation across different identities. So social capital is not necessarily, as I was explaining so far, only physically restricted. It can happen globally now. I have friends in the different countries of the world where I call them if there is a cyclone or if there is a flood. I have friends in Bangladesh and I call them when there is heavy cyclone and they are in trouble. So bridging social capital is a little wider and bonding social capital is a little narrower, but both have the same concepts. I have a question and I'm so happy someone is listening. So when you are listening, you will have questions in your mind. I'm thankful, Kalpana. A few thoughts are crossing my mind. With capitalism becoming dominant all over the world, what scope does social capital have? Do you see social capital entering business models and what scope does it have there? Do you think countries having huge social capital would be more powerful in future? She has three questions. I'm answering the third one first. Do you think countries having huge social capital would be more powerful in future? Yes, because this is something money cannot buy. Social capital is a feeling towards your country and money cannot buy. The next question I will answer through an example. Again, your answers will come in yes or no. Have you heard a plastic container company? I think I'll show you. I'll show you 1 minute. A plastic container company like this, a box like this, called, I don't know, can you see it? Tupperware. Have you heard of a plastic company called Tupperware? Okay. Have you heard of a cosmetic company called Amoy? Amway. How do they sell? Do you get their products in the stores? One woman who knows another woman sells that I have so many lipsticks and so many creams and so many hair for hair fertilizers and so many containers and plastic bottles. I'll show you I have a Tupperware bottle. I'll show you. So how does it sell? It sells from one woman to another, from one man to another, from one man. So how does that work? Network selling through different people. And this is the base of that is social capital. That is why if you ask the question, can we do aggressive marketing through social capital? Of course we can. Have you heard of another example? Referral. When you have a credit card, sometimes the bank tells you if you refer another friend, you will get some points. That means the bank is trying to increase your business through your social capital. So I think I could answer some parts of the question, that how can capitalism, how will social capital survive in capitalistic times? So I proceed with this and I will then tell you about more about another form of social capital, which is linking. Linking is reaching out to people who are not similar, who are in dissimilar situations. And this enables members to go to a large situation of different people in countries. Now, suppose there is an accident and people need blood. They put it on Facebook. Unknown people come together. If there's an accident in Kalimpong and you put it on Facebook that O positive blood is required, so many people come from Kurseong, from Darjeeling, from Jalpaiguri to help, and that is linking social capital. That is when people don't know, they're in dissimilar situations, they're outside the community, but they are leveraging the resources that are available. And especially this becomes critical during an outbreak or an emergency. So I have spoken to you about bonding social capital, bridging social capital, and linking social capital. And we will think of these when we are in critical situations like we all are now. So that takes me to tell you about some more stories about how the world is looking at social capital. This is a survey where I hope you can see the bars. This survey talks about the global situation in terms of willingness to fight for the country, in terms of trust in press, and in terms of trust in neighbors and confidence in government. The four things that are written in the bar diagrams. I will ask you to focus on the second bar, and India is orange in color. So trust in press and trust in neighbors is highest in orange color, which means in comparison to China, which is blue, India, which is orange, South Korea, which is gray, Singapore, which is light orange, yellow is United States. India has high trust in press and the highest trust in neighbors. You see, 88% of Indians trust their neighbors. And that is why I want to tell you that India has high levels of social capital. So, given that situation, I think we are confident that we will be able to fight situations like this because we have very rich quality of social capital. Then I will give you an example of India. Now, I am not saying that this is the correct situation. This is a study done in India. You all can think of many other studies which can prove this or cannot prove this. It says that when there is high social capital, then quality of life improves. When there is low social capital, when people are distrusting each other, then quality of life falls. This is a study done in Uttar Pradesh. How is social capital being used in times of COVID? Now, I have a question for the organizers. How much more time do I have? If someone can please write it or tell me.
Your discussion is very interesting. You please keep on.
Okay. Thank you so much. You know, we are teachers and we will continue saying, if my students don't go away, I'm happy. I started with 58 and we have 54 now. So I'm sure they are not getting bored. So I'll tell you about how social capital is being used now, not only in your neighborhood, but in all parts of India. The first example I will tell you is, I'm sure you know the name of self-help groups. There are self-help groups all over the country who are making masks and who are making sanitizers. And when they are making sanitizers and masks by the self-help groups, the advantage is written in the last bullet. Because production is decentralized, it is easy to distribute. If all sanitizers were made in Maharashtra and if all masks were made in Bengal, it would have been so difficult to distribute them. Therefore, it is seen that the self-help groups have got together and they have contributed to the social capital. They are working hard. They're working towards making the country more safe. And this is an advantage because it is enabling good distribution system. The next example that I will give you is that of running community kitchens. As you may have heard, and I'm sure you know, that there was a lot of problems with migrant laborers. And there still is a lot of problem when one or two persons in the family are getting COVID, whereas the rest are COVID free. So you have to isolate them. For this purpose, a particular network called Kudumbashri in southern part of India is being run for the purpose of doing community kitchens. And my screen is gone. You need to start presenting your screen once more.
Yes, sorry, ma'am. Sorry to disturb you, but your screen has gone because someone else presented when you were doing it. So I think because of that.
Okay. Okay, I will do it. I want to see the chat box also while I'm presenting, and so I'm taking a little time. Because for me, it's important that my participants can talk to me. Can this be seen?
Yes, ma'am. Now it's
Thank
good.
you. Thank you.
Thank you so
So,
much.
did you see this? Did you see this? Did you see this? Or should I explain this once again? I have a question for the organizers. Should I explain slide number 15?
Yes, ma'am. I
You
think you
did
could start.
not see this.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you see this?
Uh, no, ma'am.
Did you see this?
Yes, ma'am. I think you could start from here.
Okay. I explained bonding, bridging, and linking with a lot of examples. I think you may have seen it, may have heard it. And then I will talk to you about social capital and the global scenario. This is a very nice slide, and I want to show you. Can you see the 4 types of questions that were asked to people? Willingness to fight for the country, trust in press, trust in neighbors, confidence in government. So, as I have mentioned before, that when you trust your neighbor, your social capital is very high because you form a network and you follow some norms which are accepted among your neighbors. And as a result, you share information, you support each other, you give resources, you share knowledge, skill, ability, and experience. The colored bars here are the countries. Blue is China, orange is India, gray is South Korea, light orange is Singapore, yellow is USA. So I will request you to look at this, trust in neighbors. And we find that this is the India bar. 88% of the Indian population trust their neighbor. So you find that India is so